our sponsors, and then we'll
There you
go
go.
into today's Gemara.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Mandy. A year of learning by Dr. Paul Koenigsberg in memory of his brother, Dr. Sam Koenigsberg, Shimon Reuven ben Labush, and Ed Goldberg's cousin, Nisan Hara, Nisan ben Fardosa, Paula and Bob Bromberg, memory of their dear friend Julian Smith, Yehuda ben Yisrael, Malka Mann, in memory of her family murdered in the Holocaust, Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bas Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bas Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bas Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Many friends of Dr. Marvin Blush, Moshe Shalom ben Yitzchak Halevi, friends of Toby Peres, Saratova bat Yisrael Dov, friends of Malka Levi, Malka bat Yosef, friends of Avi Gidler, Avram Meir ben Shimon, Shel Shur, her children and grandchildren, in memory of her uncle, founding member of BRS, Dr. Israel Brook, Yisrael ben Harav Akiva, Marcia Federbush and family, in memory of her husband, Dr. Oriel Paul Federbush, Oriel ben Harav Shimon. A month of learning sponsored by Chaim and Phyllis Reese, in memory of his father, Mordechai ben Yom Tov Lipa, by Phyllis and Chaim Reese, in memory of her father, Pinchas ben Avraham. And that is it today. May the Neshamas have an aliyah, Krank Rafia, Velti Yashir Shema Talia, and L'chol B'nai Yisrael, a good Gaben Shtiar. Okay. Zev, I hope you wore your gatkes this morning.
I put a heavy jacket on.
Okay.
I still have a winter jacket.
Good. You still have a winter jacket? I do too. That's what I wore this morning. Okay, everybody. I want us to pick up in the Gemara just real quickly from the top of Yud Chet, all right, which is, I believe, today's daf, right? All right.
Yes.
Okay. I got to get back to checking it off. Right, where it says Visakadatach Mikalim Hude Hadarbe. If it was only thought, remember that Rabbi Yehuda had recanted only in regards to utensils. Aval ba'ochlin k'Rabbi Yossi v'Rabbi Shimon tzvirale, but he still felt like Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon that these beverages, these liquids, could be machshir and therefore contaminate other items. Amai bitlu b'meyaha, says the Gemara. Why then did he say that the cow that drank the purification water, it becomes batel in the internal organs of the cow? The gamre, completely. Nehi dituma chamura lo mitamo. We might therefore say that a more stringent tuma does not become transferred. Okay, in that case, tuma kala miha nitma'u, but some small amount or little amount of tuma could still become transferred. So the Gemara then asks, Mai bitlu b'meyeha. What do we mean when we say that it became nullified in its internal organs? Nami, here too, bitlu mituma chamura, that it became nullified in regards to a lesser or a smaller amount of tuma, aval tuma kala mitamo, but at least some, amount of tuma, a smaller amount of tuma is transferred. And that's where we left off yesterday, okay? Miklau, says the Gemara, coming back as a response. The Tanakama Savar, Tuma Chamura, Nami Mitamo. It must be then that Tanakama, is of the opinion that the water can even contaminate a certain significant amount of tuma. Ha bisara tame katane. But what about the flesh of the animal? Isn't that going to be transferred contamination tuma as well? Kula Rabbi Yehudahui. It therefore must imply that the whole item is Rabbi Yehuda's view. In other words, implying that maybe he does say that he recanted from the entire idea of these liquids transferring tuma. And so therefore the Gemara has to come back and give us the following. V'chasuri michsura v'hachi katani. Something was missing in the Mishnah, okay? And we have to clarify it and say the following. Teaching it this way. Para sheshatata mechatat. If we have an animal, okay, a cow, that drank the water of purification, bisara tame, its flesh is tame. B'med varim amorim, what are we talking about? Tuma kala, at least a small amount, a slight degree of tuma. Aval tuma chamura lo. But a major or a severe amount of tuma, that's not the case. Rabbi Yehuda omer betlu b'me'eha, because Rabbi Yehuda holds, right, says that that water became nullified in its internal organs. Now, Rav Ashi Amar, says Rav Ashi, and a different statement, Le'olam bitlu b'me'eha lagamre. His argument, says Rav Ashi, is the water is completely nullified in the organs of the cow. Why? Mishum dahava le mashke saruach, because it's a foul or a putrid liquid, okay? And therefore it is completely removed, if you will, from having any tumor. Now, Rabbi Yossi v'Rabbi Shimon, remember what they said? Right, namely in the Braita, that these liquids, okay, do contaminate. Omrim le'ochlim tme'im, le'kelim tahorim. That they say that other foodstuffs touched by such liquids do become tameh, okay, but regarding utensils, the utensil remains tahor, particularly if there was a doubt about the status of the liquid. Okay, and remember, we only saw that for the most part, it was held to be d'Rabbanan. Okay, Amar Rabba, says Rabba bar Chana, Amar Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yossi, B'shitat Rabbi Akiva Rabbo Amra, that Rabbi Yossi was saying this applied according to the view of his teacher, Rabbi Akiva. Okay, why? Because Rabbi Akiva did the following drasha, following expounding, namely regarding the pasuk. Okay, he took the words of the pasuk, right, where it said Yit Ma, and he read it as Yitamei, namely Ditznan, as taught now. And here's the Gemara is going to give us the drasha, okay, as was taught. Bo Bayom, on that day. Remember, Bo Bayom implies the day that they gave the testimonies, okay, for Eduyot, which was the day that they deposed Rabban Gamliel, okay, from being Nasi. Darash Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva gave the following. B'chol kli cheres, right? That's our pasuk right there, okay? Any earthenware vessel, right? Asher yipol mehem v'gomer, in which they will fall into it, namely the dead sherets falls into it, right? That's what becomes tameh, right? That's right. Eino omer tameh ela yitma. Okay, he doesn't read it as tameh, but reads it as yitma, implying yitma acherim, that it will cause other things to become tameh. Limed al kikar sheni she'oseh shlishi bechulin, and thus something that is a second degree tuma can transfer it to another item when it is chulin, okay, to a third degree tuma. And so the Gemara asks a question, Lahacha hechi darish, and here in regards to beverages, right? How did he expound, right, this pasuk? B'chol mashkin asher yishteh b'chol kli yitma, right? Any beverage that can be drunk in a container, in a vessel, okay, will become tameh. Yitameh, right? Will cause tuma. The tameh, tumat ochlin. In other words, to render it a status of contaminated foods. Ata omer letameh tumat ochlin. You say then that it transfers tuma, okay, to contaminate foods. Oeino ela letameh tumat mashkin amart. Okay? Or do we say only that it contaminates beverages? In other words, the beverage itself becomes contaminated, but not something it comes in contact with. And so the Gemara's answer is lo kachaya. Okay? That was not the intention. That's not what it means. And so the Gemara asks, lo kachaya? That was not the meaning. That's not his intent. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa. Lo matzinu tum'ah she'otzei ki yotzei ba. We don't find, says Rav Papa, something that is a foodstuff that can make it something of a similar variety, tameh like itself. Now, Ravina Amar, says Ravina, Migufe dikra, nami lo matzit amart yitma l'tameh tumat mashkin. Even from our understanding of the exact language of the pasuk itself, says Ravina, we don't find, okay, a situation where the phrase yitama, okay, or yitma, okay, has the as such that it conveys transferring tuma, okay, to the liquids. De'i salka da'ata, because if you are of the opinion, yitma de seifa, the tameh tumat mashkin, that the at the end of the Braita, that it indicates that it can transfer tuma to beverages, yitma de reisha, nami l'tameh tumat mashkin. Then the phrase yitma at the beginning of the Braita, beginning really of the pasuk, okay, also should show transfer of tuma to beverages. So the Gemara then says, if that were the case, you would have two lessons of this with the same intent based on two different parts of a pasuk, which is not normally the case. And therefore, says the Gemara, na'arvinhu, let's put them together, v'nichtaveinhu, and why shouldn't we then have the Torah writing this way? Mikol ha'ochel, asher ye'ochel, asher yavo alav mayim, b'chol mashkeh, asher yishteh b'kol kli, yitma. In other words, put the whole thing together really in one pasuk, right? So the Gemara now explains to us the following, right? Trey Yitma Lamali. If that's the case, then why does the pasuk use the word Yitma twice? Right? Okay, if you remember, I believe we had the pasuk in one of the art scroll notes that we had. I can't find it right now offhand, but we had it in one of the notes. Okay, yesterday. Okay, in any case, right? So that's the Gemara's question, right? Why need the pasuk to have included the word Yitma twice? Okay, right? So the answer is Ella, rather, Yitma de Resha, that the first part of the pasuk when it says Yitma, the Tamei Tumat Mashki, that comes to tell us that it can transfer Tuma to the beverages. Yitma de Seifa, later on in the pasuk when it says Yitma, the Tamei Tumat Ochli, that tells us that it can convey Tuma to foodstuff. Ve'ema, says the Gemara. I would therefore say the Tamei et HaKelim. What about, on what basis then do you say that it can transfer any Tuma to utensils? How do you get that then? If you said the word Yitma is one place for liquids, one place for food. V'lav kal v'chomer, who? Isn't that going to be based on the kal v'chomer, asks the Gemara, and then attempts to present to us the kal v'chomer. Uma kli shemitame mashke. Okay? Ein mitame kli. And whereas a utensil can transfer tuma to the beverage that might be inside it, okay, but it does not transfer tuma to another utensil. Mashkin haba'in michamat kli. Okay, the beverage that comes as a result of the utensil. Eino din, is it not logical? Shalo yitamu with the kelim, that it should not therefore also not be able to transfer tuma to a utensil. Ve'ema, and furthermore, says the Gemara, I might say as follows: Kilo mitam om mashkin haba'in michamat kli. Okay, we might say that beverages don't contaminate utensils, right? Aval mashkin haba'in mechamat sheretz, but a beverage that became, right, that the liquid that became tamei as a result of a sheretz, hachanami deta'amal, isn't here a situation where it would become transferring that case, that tuma, okay? Mashkin haba'in mechamat sheretz miktive. So the Gemara asks, but where is it written in the pasuk that it says that liquids that become tamei as a result of a sheretz, where is that written that that's then going to convey tuma, right? And so the Gemara continues then on Yud Chet Amud Beis, V'lav makal v'chomer ka'ate. Doesn't that also come based on the kal v'chomer? right? Namely, attempting the following. And here again, it tries to spell it out. Uma mashkin habain mechamat kli metamin. And whereas beverages, liquids, right, that can become tame as a result of the utensil, okay? In other words, let's say it's an earthenware utensil, right? And a sheretz has gotten inside that utensil, and therefore it contaminates the beverage inside it. Metamin, it can render other things, transfer that tumor. Mashkin haba'in mechamat sheretz. Then if the beverage, right, if the liquid became tame as a result of a sheretz, lo inside the utensil, lo kol shekain, isn't that all the more so that it's going to, that liquid convey tumor to another utensil? So the Gemara raises a point and answers, dio, that's enough. Namely, it's sufficient. Lavo min hadin liot kinadun. Okay, we don't build on that, okay, example, because it's sufficient to take from the law, what was the derived law, okay, and we don't use it. We use that as the basic criteria, the source, and we don't add to that, is the Gemara's answer. Okay, now, the Gemara comes back. Remember we said this all had to do with the drasha, right? And so that's what we have. Now is the discussion. Yitma deresha hechidarish. So therefore, when the first time that Rabbi Akiva does his drasha, and it comes across in the pasuk the word Yitma, what did he do with it? Right? How did he expound it? Right? Mikol ha'ochel asher ye'ochel asher yavo alav mayim yitma. Okay? Our pasuk there of any food that can be eaten upon which water comes shall be tame. Okay? So what did he do? He understood that as yitame, the tame et hamashkin. Okay? That therefore that conveys truma, conveys tuma to the other beverages, to any other, right? Therefore, ata omer latame et hamashkin, you say it comes to convey tuma to other beverages. O eno ella latame et hakli, or did Rabbi Akiva really intend it to mean that it transfers tuma to the utensil in which that beverage might be? Amart kal v'chomer. But you said this was going to be, a kal v'chomer argument. Namely, uma mashkeh shamitame ochel. And the same way the beverage is able to transfer tuma, right, to a foodstuff, eino matame kli, it is not able to transfer tuma to a utensil. Ochel, she'ein matame ochel, foodstuffs that cannot transfer tuma to another foodstuff. Eino din, is it not logical? Shelo yitame kli, right? That it's not able to transfer tuma to a utensil. So the Gemara then continues and says, Ha ma'ani mekayem yitma. How then, right, do I explain this word yitma in regards to foodstuffs? Right, with that, L'tameh et hamashkin, that it's able to convey tuma to beverages. Shehein alulin lekabel tuma, because they are, let's call the word susceptible, okay? Prone, whatever term we want to use, to becoming tamei. Now, having said this, the Gemara, however, is not satisfied, okay? And proceeds to ask the following shaila. My area, mashkin mishum da'alu lekabel tuma. What do we mean when we say that beverages are prone, are susceptible to becoming tamei? Okay. Typically, mishum deleka mide achrina, says the Gemara. Maybe we can derive this because there's nothing else, right? Hachika amar. Gemara says, therefore, this is how we have to explain it. V'chi tema ochel chamor. And if you want to say, okay, that the food stuff is more stringent or more severe, okay, then let's say a tamei beverage, right? The metame mashkin, that the food stuff is capable of transferring tuma to a beverage. Nitmaya lekli. If that's the case, okay, and the tamye lekli, maybe it's going to also convey tuma to the utensil. Hahu chumra demashkin. But we might say that in this case, this is a stringency that applies to beverages. Okay? Mishum demashkin alulim lekabel tuma. Why? Because liquids are prone, are susceptible more easily to becoming tamei. Umahi alulim. Alilatan, I'm sorry, what do we mean when they say they're more prone, that they are quicker, right? More susceptible. Shemikablin tuma shelo behechsher. That liquids can become tamei without advanced preparation. Okay, so the Gemara wants to pick up now, okay, and come back to the verse. At the verse, we had said yitma. The ein oseh kiotseba mehacha nafka. Okay, right. So what are we saying here? Right. Again, we're saying that if we say it renders tuma, it cannot produce that tuma to something that's similar to it. Okay. On what basis do we say this? Okay. Where does it derive from? Mehatam nafka. From there, namely from there, from the pasuk. Why? Because what does the pasuk say? Ki yitan mayim al zera. V'nafal minevlatam alav tamehu. Okay, that the implication of the pasuk, if water has been placed on a seed and the carcass of the sheretz implied falls upon it, it is tamei. Who tamei? It is tamei. Ve'ein oseh tuma kiyotseba. But it does not render something else like it tamei. So Gemara proceeds. Chad b'mashkin habaim mechamat sheretz. Okay, the end seems to be that here, okay, one part of the verse, all right, one verse deals with liquids, beverages that, as a result of contact with a sheretz. V'chad b'mashkin haba'in mechamat kli. And another pasuk however, seems to focus on a situation where we have beverages that are dealing with a utensil, particularly a earthenware utensil, utsrichi. And we need both psukim to teach us these different rules. Why? De'i ishma'inin b'mashkin haba'in michamat kli. Because if I had only learned in regards to beverages vis-a-vis a utensil, mishum de lo chamire, I might say that those are situations that aren't severe, right? It's not major tumor that's being transferred. Aval b'mashkin haba'in michamat sheret. But in regards to beverages who became tameh, let's say initially by the sheriff, the chamiri, that's a more severe variety of tumor. Ema, I might say, osetum akiotseba, that therefore it's going to render something else similar to it tameh. And then continuing. Okay, and then we would learn mashkin haba'im michamat sheret, regarding beverages that convey tumah as a result of the sheret. V'kol shekin, and how much more so mashkin haba'im michamat kli. Okay, any kind of beverage that could render or transfer tumah from a utensil. There's a result. Milta the acha b'kal v'chomer. That here too, we might say that this could have been derived from a kal v'chomer. Tarach v'katav lakra. Nevertheless, we find sometimes when something could have been derived from a kal v'chomer, nevertheless, the text of the Torah makes the effort and writes it out as a pasuk to specifically, explicitly tell us the case. Okay. Having said that, now, we're still dealing with this drasha of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yossi using that drasha, right? So, we have the following now. Amar le Ravina le Rav Ashi. Ravina says to Rav Ashi in explaining that situation. Vaha Amar Rava. And this is what Rava said. Lo Rabbi Yossi savar ka Rabbi Akiva. Velo Rabbi Akiva savar ka Rabbi Yossi. That Rabbi Yossi did not really have the same mindset, same opinion as Rabbi Akiva, and nor did Rabbi Akiva have the same opinion as Rabbi Yossi. Okay, and so Amar le, he said to him, Rabbi Yossi b'shitat Rabbi Akiva Rabbo Amru. No, he says Rabbi Yossi must have given his statement according to the view of Rabbi Akiva, his teacher. That's what he said. V'lei lo savale. But he himself didn't hold that opinion. So now, Amar le Rav Ashi the Rav Kahana. And so Rav Ashi then says to Rav Kahana in regards to this statement by Rava, trying to explain Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yossi. Bishlema Rabbi Yossi lo savarla ka Rabbi Akiva. It's acceptable, understandable that Rabbi Yossi didn't hold like Rabbi Akiva. The Tanya, because we have a bright that teaches as follows: Amar Rabbi Yossi minayim lerevi'i b'kodesh shehu pasul. How do we know that fourth level of Tuma as applied to something that's consecrated makes it unfit. V'dinhu, okay? And this is logical, right? Why? Uma mechusa kippurim, as in the example of what about a situation where an individual who is mechusa kippurim, in other words, who went to mikvah, but still, let's say, hasn't brought their korban, and thus, during that afternoon, is still some degree of tuma associated with them. Shemutar betruma, okay, and that person then, okay, right, pasul b'kodesh, is permitted to have truma, but is unfit to eat of actual kodesh, of consecrated. Shlishi shepasul betruma, a third level, okay, of right, third level of truma, right, renders that truma unfit. Eino din, is it not logical? Sheya'aseh revi'i b'kodesh, that it should therefore make that fourth level b'kodesh unfit. V'lamadnu shlishi b'kodesh min haTorah, says the Gemara. But we learned, said elsewhere, that shlishi is tameh in terms of sanctified items from the Torah. Revi'i mikal v'chomer, and the fourth level, okay, only based on the a fortiori, the kal v'chomer argument. Shlishi min haTorah. The third, right, its third level of tuma is from the Torah. Why? Dichtiv, because there's a pasuk that says, V'habasa asher yiga, right? B'chol tameh lo ye'achel. Okay? That meat that touches anything tameh shall not be eaten. So we're just going over a little bit. Mi lo askinim dinaga b'sheni. Aren't we saying here then that it implies that we're dealing with meat that must have touched contact with a second level tumor? Revi'i mikal v'chomer kida'amrinan. Do we therefore say, okay, that in this case, right, that we can learn Revi'i level, fourth level, okay, based on the kal v'chomer kida'amrinan, as we stated earlier. Now Rav Ashi is going to continue here with his explanation. V'isalka da'atach savar Rabbi Akiva, and if you think the way Rabbi Akiva, in other words, that Rabbi Yossi holds like Rabbi Akiva, nitnei nami revi'i b'truma v'chamishi b'kodesh, then you would have to say, right, that we would have to teach it that the fourth level tuma applies to truma, and the fifth level applies to kodesh, to sanctify. Ela Rabbi Akiva lo seva Rabbi Yossi minalam, but that Rabbi Yossi, that Rabbi Akiva doesn't hold by Rabbi Yossi. How do we know this? That's what we'll see tomorrow. So we'll stop right there. All right, like previews of coming attractions. Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Take care, stay well, and stay warm today.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
Have a